Before this video begins, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Also, be sure to check out my affiliate links down below so you can get discounts on different car mods and products. Alright, let's get into the drive. Hello and welcome. Today we are driving a 2020 Toyota Tacoma TRD Sport. This is also a four-wheel drive model with the short bed 5 feet. I would like to thank Flood Ford Lincoln and Narragansett, Rhode Island for allowing me to both review and test drive this truck. My review, in full, is up on the channel, so be sure to check that out. This is powered by a 3.5-liter naturally aspirated V6, making 278 horsepower and 265 pound-feet of torque. This is mated with a 6-speed shiftable automatic transmission. This achieves 19 in the city, 24 mpg highway, and 21 combined. This can tow up to 6,600 pounds and has a payload of about 1,370 pounds. This achieves 0 to 60 in roughly 7.5 seconds per measurement, so we will test that out in just a little while. And then also, this is finished in white, of course, with a black and gray cloth interior. This rides on 17-inch alloy wheels, and those have 265 tires wrapped around them. Alrighty, for a much more in-depth look into this truck, make sure to check out my channel, because I did a full review of this. But right now, we will take this for a spin. Alright, so this is the V6. This does also come in a naturally aspirated 4-cylinder engine, making a good bit less power, but for a long time, Toyota Tacomas have come in both a 4-cylinder and V6 variant. And I'm excited to drive this V6 because although the 4-cylinder is probably nice to drive, Toyotas are known to be very reliable. Both engines are probably good. But yeah, I'd like to try the upgraded engine, just see what it's like to drive a Tacoma day to day, and especially an upper trim one. So for the trim package TRD Sport, this is not a TRD Pro. This is not a fully off-road focused vehicle, although this does have one skid plate down below. So that's pretty cool. Overall, this is actually more of just an appearance package for the exterior, because inside it's not a bad looking truck inside, but it's not luxurious inside. It's a lot of hard plastic and stuff, so it's not trying to be a luxury truck. Like the Ford Ranger comes in some lower trims, so do the Honda Ridgeline and the Hyundai Santa Cruz, but all of those are a bit nicer inside than this lower trim Tacoma, usually even in their lower trims, just because the Tacoma usually is just trying to be more of a work truck. So this is made with a 6-speed auto. It's a bit of an older design, but you know, tried and true. That's how Toyota tends to operate. And so far it's very easy to drive. Steering is a little numb. It does have a bit of a dead zone, as you can see. It doesn't really do that much in the steering. This does not have drive modes beyond sport, and where I can shift myself inside of there, but this does not have shift paddles. Whereas a few trucks have shift paddles now, so it's a little interesting that Toyota didn't choose to include that. Even a lot of smaller cars have that, so that's pretty interesting. But that's okay. Let's get off the line just a little bit here. Okay, it's pretty hesitant to get up to speed in terms of gearing, because I'm only in drive. I'm in a normal drive mode. However, it does okay. It does just fine for itself. As for safety in here, you do get blind spot monitoring, lane departure alert with lane keep assist, and you also do get emergency collision alert in the front. So inside of the front emblem, this does have a Toyota safety sense sensors inside of there. So this does have some modern safety features. My initial impressions of wind noise are not too bad from the front, but in the sides I can hear a little bit. And this does actually have aftermarket wind guards added on top of all the windows. But unfortunately, there is still some decent wind noise. So I think actually it would be a little worse without those window guards, but that's okay. So it's not the quietest truck. Once again, it's not trying to be. Okay, it takes bumps very well. That was a very rough spot in the road, and it did very, very well right there. And in just a moment, we can do a 0 to 60 down this road. There is some body roll, but it's obviously a lot more manageable than a full-size truck. All right, let's come to a stop here and do a 0 to 60. We'll put it in sport, just see how it performs. And 60. That engine does not sound bad at high RPMs. I like the sound of that very much. That 3.5 naturally aspirated V6. There's no replacement for displacement, so that sounds very, very good in my opinion. There is some decent body roll though. This rides atop those 17-inch wheels, but it does have 9.4 inches of ground clearance, which is pretty decent. But that does just mean that, you know, this isn't going to be a tight handling truck. It's just going to drive like a normal truck. It feels composed though, because going about 32 into this corner, although the steering goes pretty light and you do feel, you know, that you're up high, it's not too bad for driving it in that way. For your infotainment system in here, you do get an 8-inch infotainment system, so it's nothing too bad. And then this does have a lot of hard buttons supplemented in, which is very good because, for example, Honda, and I think Toyota to some extent, had a lot of complaints about all their, you know, all their digital additions to all of their vehicles, and it just wasn't the simplest thing to use when you're driving, or if you're on a busy highway and you're like having finicky issues to play with just to get your controls to go through. That creates a lot of dangerous situations. So I'm very glad that both Toyota and now many brands, I think Honda was the worst at it. They had the worst backlash, but luckily a lot of manufacturers now have included the use of some old style buttons as well, maybe in addition to digital ones. Yeah, for the ride in here, it's actually not too bad. It's pretty composed. Brakes feel pretty good. This is a very easy truck to drive. I've never driven a Tacoma. This is my first time, and I'm very, very having a very easy time with this. It does help that I now have a full power driver's seat, even in this lower trim. So I have two-way lumbar support on my driver's seat, whereas the passenger does only retain a full manual seat control. It's very quiet cruising day to day. It likes to be in very low RPMs. I just shifted going 27, and I'm at about 1100 RPM. That is awesome for fuel economy. Although this doesn't get great fuel economy at all, it sure tries to. But if I pop it in sport, yeah, it'll just keep holding the gear a little longer to go up to higher RPMs. Nothing too crazy. And we'll actually put it into that mode so we can try see how the speed is with shifting response. All right. So now we're in second. First. Okay, very, very, very slow response on that. Once again, it's not a sports car. It doesn't even have shift paddles for good reason, because it's not a very exciting truck to shift on your own. But it performs just fine. The shifts in here are not very tight, which I actually appreciate because it makes it a very dailyable, nice truck to be able to drive. One gripe I do have, it does have a bit of a thick A-pillar, just because they blacked out this part a little much, in my opinion, of the, they put some plastic guards here in the window corner. I wish it didn't have those, because this is a little bit hard to see out of in that regard. But this truck is very, very quiet to ride in. There's very minimal tire noise, which is nice. Wind noise is a little higher, but I'm only going about 25 here, and it is really almost silent. It's very, very good in here. And I do have the air conditioning going a tiny bit, so you may hear a tiny bit of wind noise, but that's not real wind noise. Yeah, the engine actually gets a little bit loud though, just when you're getting into like the higher RPMs above like 2500, 3000 RPM. It doesn't sound bad. I like it. I'm a car person, but yeah, I'm not quite sure if they made it almost a little too loud just in the higher RPMs, hearing all the engine noise. But cruising in this, it's very easy, extremely easy to drive actually. And the steering feel is very light, a little bit numb, but that's okay, it's a truck. Not too many trucks have tight steering that I've driven to date, so this is just on par with the others. For the interior in here though, I wish they had made it just a little bit nicer, because there are hard plastics nearly everywhere. There's almost no soft touch materials. Once again, this is a lower trim. I know they're not trying to be too nice in here, but MSRP sat at around $38,000. Due to the inflated used market, this actually still is about $38,000 due to it having about 29,000 miles, but the whole situation we're in right now. I just wish it had some more creature comforts inside of here. Safety sense from Toyota definitely helps it become a bit more modern, but it's not all that modern. So I do wish it had a couple more things in terms of just niceties inside of here. As for the infotainment system, luckily it's very, very nice and easy to use. Very intuitive in my opinion. Audio obviously goes right to audio. Pretty quick replies from inputs. I like it so far. And the rest of the visibility for this, of course, is just a random truck. So it's very easy to see out of basically everywhere, except the A-pillar is just a little bit thick in my opinion. And on the right, for the passenger, they put the grab bar there, which they do often, but it seems like they made it just stick out a little more than average trucks. So impedes visibility just a bit over there. Okay, yeah, it does take a very long time to coax it into going into a higher gear for you, or a lower gear with higher RPM, but it does just fine once it does. But even in sport mode there, S, it really is pretty hesitant to bring out any of its real power. But I would not call this truck sluggish in itself. However, with this transmission, it makes it pretty sluggish actually day to day. It's a moderately torquey engine with 265 pound-feet of torque, but I don't know if you feel it all that much. I just think overall it could use some just a little bit more of an eager transmission, if you will. Not that it's going to hurt fuel economy as much, but it just it would just make it a little more pleasant to drive. Because it really doesn't love to jump up there. Although it has the good power, if they gave it a bit of an eager transmission, I don't think that people would like burn through the gas and doing it that way by flooring it. But right now you do have to, you know, you have to coax it a little harder than I would prefer, just to get it to really kick into the good power bands. Let's put in sport. Body roll is not that bad actually. At least going at higher speeds it feels safe and composed, which is obviously a great thing. Blind spot monitoring most definitely helps in things like this where I have window stickers so I can't see. Alright, let's see. Okay, it does have a big power band drop up above 4,500 RPMs. You heard that, obviously, but it didn't really do all that much up there, so that's a bit unfortunate. Let me pull it out of sport, just put it back into drive. Because it keeps it in a pretty high gear up there, which is not exactly what you want once you just want to cruise. But yeah, going about 60, actually wind noise is not that bad. Oddly enough, it's very, very good in highway speeds. It's almost a bit noisier to me in the 30 to 45 range with wind, but at least going on this highway, it's pretty good to deal with. And we can just spin around here. And yeah, highway driving is pretty good, so that's good. Brakes feel good, very composed. Yeah, it's very, very easy to manage and manipulate this truck. Like, once again, I've never driven a Tacoma, and this is a very, very easy truck to drive. Let's put in sport again. There's 60. It's really not bad, of course, getting up to speed. It just is very hard to get the transmission to be happy enough to give you the power you need. So I wish they tuned the transmission a bit differently, but it does shift very well. It's never a harsh shift. Occasionally it'll have like a big slow drop where it won't do too much. You know, the transmission won't really be connected. There are some big gaps there, but they really tuned it so it won't be hard on you. This is a very easy truck to drive. Once again, it's never going to buck you around, and so far my many experiences of different throttle inputs and such. And I like the basic creature comforts it has, such as blind spot and lane departure, and I don't think it has emergency braking, front braking, but it has some sort of emergency alert, so it can do some sort of thing like that just to warn you to try and evade if you can. I believe that's more along the lines of how it works. But yeah, driving this Tacoma, I think it's pretty good. It looks great, in my opinion. I think it looks the part of just being a cool little truck. And keeping the Tacoma name alive and well. I think it's doing a good job. Looks very nice on the exterior. And yeah, very, very easy and manageable to drive. Never driven a Tacoma, and this is as easy as can be. And I don't think that the engine itself is lethargic or anemic, but The transmission really doesn't make this all that fast. It does okay once it's in a gear, like once you're driving, but going up to speed, it is very, very hard to get it to want to use all its available power, which can be frustrating at many times. But overall, I do like this Tacoma, and it is currently for sale at Flood Ford Lincoln in Narragansett, Rhode Island. So thank you very much to them for allowing me to do an in-depth review and also this test drive with it. So make sure to check out my full review as well, currently out on the channel. Thank you very much for watching, and take care.